It's funny how the world works, how life works sometimes. I'm watching the end of that LSU game on Saturday night, and I can't help but honestly, I was more focused on Marcel Reed and what they were doing offensively and how Texas A&M took off in the second half. And we talked about Mike Elko and the singular focus of we've got to tackle better. And they threw a pair of interceptions. They had the special teams blunder that led to a safety, and LSU came racing back, and they're leading 18-14 at half. So I'm focused on the X's and O's, the personnel, and what's going on in that game. But it was in the back of my mind as we're watching. Thankfully, I've developed good relationships at a lot of places across the country, covering college football and the NFL draft and pro days and everything else. And my love for food, too, doesn't hurt. So I wind up breaking bread with a lot of people when I travel. And some of the conversations I've had over the last, let's say, 16 months with people in Baton Rouge and knowing the temperature there, I feel like I'm kind of uniquely qualified in that I grew up in the North, outside of Boston, lived 20 years in Boston, just about, but also spent a good time. Like very few people grow up in the North, in the Northeast, and spend as much time as I have over the past 25 years covering college football, the NFL draft, going to pro days and all of it, than I do, and I have. And I've embraced the culture down there. And it is a different culture, and it's a wonderful culture. And the weather's different. And when it's like winter and summer, and it's oppressive, and you want to get out of there. It's when it's beautiful up here in the Northeast. And for about the other 7 months of the year, 6, 7 months of the year, it's where you want to be in the South and not here. But none of this has to do with weather. None of this has to do with food. This has to do with the people, okay? And it's the sources that I've accrued over time. And more importantly, honestly, it's having lived there. Like I lived in Greenville, South Carolina for a year. I had traveled there and spent four days a clip, 15 weeks a year. I'm going down the South, a good portion of it, to go cover big time football games. And I'm meeting people and getting to know them. And there's no place in this country more welcoming than the South, especially like the Southeast of this country. When you're a visitor, they want to share with you. It's not like when you come up here. When Southern people come up north, Northern people are kind of confused by them. They talk a little different. They care about things that maybe we don't care. Like in the Northeast, we're very intellectual. We have the best hospitals and the best colleges. And there's some wonderful aspects of people in the Northeast. We don't bullshit. What you see is what you get. Go fuck yourself. That's kind of the culture, but we love hard here. We just love differently. Down South, they embrace and they welcome in and they love the hospitality aspect of it. And even living there for a year, the men are more fun. The women, more beautiful, but the women are like hosting, and together that like you're out on boats and you're in the Gulf Shores and you're hunting and fishing and golfing and there's barbecues and there's it's a culture. But when I lived there, I noticed they get over the fact that you're not a visitor anymore, and it's kind of like, I don't know how in we're gonna let you get. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yep.
As a visitor, I felt like there's no place in the world like this. As a resident, it was like, oh, he's a Yankee. He's come down here. I don't know. Like it's going to take a long time if we're going to actually let him in the circle. And I don't know that we ever will. So that's the backdrop here. And it's why I say I'm kind of uniquely, I feel like I have a unique perspective on this. I think at first Brian Kelly was a visitor, and he came down and he did the family thing, and he was a championship caliber coach, so it seemed, and he had won a lot of big games, and they felt like he was the next up. They've had 3 coaches in recent history to go to win national championships there, and he was going to be the next guy up. And so they embraced him as kind of a visitor, but someone who was going to, take him back to where they want to go in Baton Rouge with the LSU football program that demands excellence. They support it in a way, financially, emotionally, all the ways that you need to support a program. It is met by the people of Baton Rouge and the state of Louisiana at LSU. But then Brian Kelly became a resident. And there seemed to be this divide going up. And as I'm talking to people down there, the shine wore off. And now he's this northerner who grew up in Somerville, not far from where you and I grew up, Steve, and kind of has a little edge to him and a little bit different than what they're used to, and maybe doesn't understand the culture down there. So it was kind of like really quietly underneath the surface brewing a little bit. And I was aware of that. And that's why when we came on Saturday night, even though I didn't plan on really talking about it much, you asked me the question. And when we were done with the show at about 1 a.m. Eastern time, you said, sorry, I don't know if you wanted me to ask you that question of like, are you talking about like he's done or you just feel like this season might be over? And I wasn't planning on talking about it, but you asked the perfect question, Steve, at the perfect time. And I just dug in. And I said, the Sharks are circling. They have been, and people didn't know quite to the level. And they were waiting on an opportunity to say, this is the moment. And I said, Sunday or Monday, I feel like something might happen. Sure enough, here we are. And it happened fast, didn't it?
Did not take long. It did not. I told you, he was walking off the field. There was a clip of him walking off the field, talking to a deputy AD. And I called you and I texted you. I was like, dude, this feels like Herm Edwards walking off the field at Arizona State when it was over there. It just had the same feeling of.
Let me ask you this question. Let me cut you off. Sorry. Do all those people meet and come to a decision? Hey, we need to go talk to him. We're going to put the action in place. The plan of action, like let's get it in place right now. If it hadn't been brewing.
No.
You don't do that in the second half of a game. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere, everyone's happy. We believe in this guy. One half of football, 30 minutes of football. We better go down the field and talk to Brian, right?
Right. I mean, it has to have been going on for a while. And I'll say this. I don't think he got fired because he didn't mesh with the culture down there. He got fired because he didn't win enough games to be the head coach of LSU. And I think that's what you're saying too. But the point is that his not being able to endear himself to the fan base and the community gave him less wiggle room. There was
if he's one of them and he had endeared, like Ed Orgeron is kind of one of them.
Love it. Love Coach O. Love Coach O.
But Ed, things were brewing, but there was a little bit of a longer leash and an acceptance, even when it was 100%. A disaster I think it was 2020, right?
100%.
This felt like, give us a reason to, and we'll take it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
I agree.
So with that, my expectation, and whether it's me reading between the lines, some of the tea leaves, or just understanding the culture or talking to people down there. And I can answer that. Like it's a little bit of all three. The next hire will be one of them, if you will. Someone who is ingrained in the southeast portion of the country, area of the country, has an understanding of what is, it's just college football down there, man. You know? They're going to be so when I hear the names start to come up, keep that in mind.
Saban's coming back, right?
Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin, which is interesting, but he's, whether it's, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, like he has been in that culture and has ingrained himself in that culture for so long. And Dan Lanning, time in Georgia, right?
Right.
Joe Brady, that magical 2019 season, what he did with Joe Burrow and the special group of talent that they had on the offensive side of the ball. those are the names I'm hearing that I'm actually taking seriously.
Makes sense.
Someone that's been there, done that in the Southeast, in the SEC, proven success, track record. And it's kind of, that's the hierarchy. I'm not saying there's not other names that won't come up. And maybe it's a name that's not, maybe it's a candidate that gets hired that's not of one of those four. But those are four of the names in talking to people and understanding the situation that kind of make a lot of sense.
Could you imagine if they got Marcus Freeman? Another Notre Dame coach? Like,
Yeah,
I don't think that's
happening.
happening either. It doesn't make sense, but it would be, I mean, that'd be quite the story.
And I don't want to, we will get more information and we'll stay on top of this as it moves forward. I can say this based off of what I do know. LSU is going to make an offer to Nick and to Miss Terry.
Of course.
That will force them to reconsider their justifiable stance of, at this point in our lives, working College Game Day, ESPN, ABC is where we belong. It's healthier. Nick's enjoying it. Miss Terry's loving it. It's time. And I want everyone to remember that Nick left 7 national championships, all the greatness, and he's the greatest coach in college football history, above Bear Bryant. But he left because college football had changed, and it was time. And the recruiting and the NIL and the transfer portal, it's just like, it's hard to coach anymore. But there's no one more qualified to come in, even at his age and his point in his career, to kind of temper, keep the rat poison out, and do all the things. And he's even said publicly, and I've talked to him in meetings, one of his, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but regrets in his coaching history was leaving LSU. Now, I've literally sat in 2 different meetings with him and talked to him about the Drew Brees and the injuries and the doctors and Miami and the ownership. And I've had really long, interesting conversations where he's just gone on rants about it. And it wasn't necessarily about leaving LSU, although he truly does hold a special place in his heart. Baton Rouge, LSU, and that program. He does. And I heard it in his voice and in his words. The regret was more, I'm the greatest. He didn't say that, I'm paraphrasing. I learned quickly in the NFL, my mission was to become the greatest coach, the most successful coach in college football history. And maybe I should never, I know I could succeed in different circumstances in the NFL, but this is where I belong, college football. But he does hold a special place in his heart for LSU. And I think LSU, knowing what I know, I don't think they have delusions of grandeur. I don't think that they believe that they absolutely will get Nick Saban. But I do know the people down there, and I will be shocked privately. Not something that is going to, Thamel's going to start reporting or anyone else. Privately, there will be an offer made that will make Nick walk into his home office with Miss Terry or get out in the lake and say, let's at least talk about this for a minute. What would this look like? That's my guess. But I don't know that it's going to be enough. I don't think $100 million over X amount of years would necessarily be enough. He's got money, he's got rings, he's got everything that you could ever imagine a coach, when you set out to be a college coach, could have.
Right.
But this might be the only place that he might say, well, let's sit down and talk. Let's think about this. Thoughts?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it all tracks, man. It all tracks. I mean, you hit all of the points. I will say that's interesting to me is he's not sitting at home in a desk, and I do wonder if that travel schedule for game day is a little more than maybe he anticipated when he first took that job. And I mean, it's not like he's fully retired, hanging out on the porch, sipping iced tea. Like, this is a guy that's still working. It's not someone who is, not in a position to come back and do this kind of a job. So
no, he's a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I've been around a couple CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and at some point there, it's a forced retirement. But you still have access to security, to car services, to private planes. You're a board member. You have an office in the building. And so that's what he is. He's still a CEO of a Fortune 5 company.
Yeah.
And that Fortune 500 company is Alabama football. But that can easily be transferred from Alabama football to LSU football. And there's a way to structure it where he's doing the things that he wants to do inside the program, but has the people running some of the operational things, including the offensive and defensive coordinators and all that. And that's how he was running it during his latter years at Alabama. Regardless of all that, Dan Lanning is awfully intriguing. Mm-hmm. I'm told, just a quick couple calls, like the buyout is astronomical, and it's both Oregon and externals. It's beyond just a school buyout. Okay.
Yep.
And we're coming up on 20 minutes in the show, and I didn't want to go this long, but I think it's important to mention some of those names. And to share why I was saying what I was saying late Saturday night, even though I hadn't planned on it, but I'm glad you asked me the question. And it led to me being able to share what I did know through experience and through conversations I've had. And we saw within 24 hours that move was made. Lane Kiffin's about to be way richer than he was.
Yeah.
And
Ole Miss better pay that man.
And he's a rich man. But now it's about to be like his great-great-grandkids are about to be taken care of. His grandkids are, maybe his great-grandkids, but his great-great-grandkids are about to be taken care of. Because if it ain't LSU, it's Florida. If it ain't Florida, it's Ole Miss. Someone's about to pay that hot yoga doing,
trash talking
son of a gun. Yeah. And I love it, and I'm here for it.